If you clicked on this video because you're struggling with loneliness, I want to let you know that you're not alone. And in this video, I'm going to share the one thing that anybody can do to help them stop feeling so lonely. And if you're new here, I'm Jerry. I'm trained in the psychology of human behavior at Harvard University. And every week I share evidence-based tools to help you create a life that you love. And I want to let you know that I'm so grateful that you're here today. So let's talk about loneliness. Loneliness is not about being alone. It's about being unseen. It's about not feeling understood, not feeling connected. And fundamentally, at its core, what loneliness is it's the gap between the connection that you want, that you wish you had, and the connection that you actually feel. Now, I think it's also important that we understand what loneliness actually does to our brain, to our bodies, to our overall health. And just as an example of the impact that loneliness can have on us physically, in 2023 in the United States, the Surgeon General called loneliness a public health crisis on par with smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That's the negative impact that it has on you physically. And so if you're an individual who has felt misunderstood because it's felt so physical to you, can I let you know? You're not alone. It is having a physical impact on you. Now, additional research on loneliness has shown that it activates the same pain centers in the brain as physical injury. Blew me away when I saw that. It also raises the risk of heart disease, stroke, anxiety, and depression. It also lowers dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, the very chemicals that help us feel connected, motivated, and alive. Now, here's a big question that comes up around this space, is that can you heal loneliness without other people? And here's the honest answer. You can do the inner work, the journaling, the nervous system regulation, the mindfulness practices, and all of that helps. It helps a lot, actually. It really does help repair our relationship with ourselves. And you can learn to be okay in your presence and not use relationships to distract you from yourself, to distract you from the way that you feel about yourself. And that's a lot of what people do in relationships today. And that's why they can feel lonely even when they're in relationships. So, to answer the question, can we heal loneliness all by ourselves? The research shows us that we can't fully heal that chronic loneliness, that we need at least one emotionally safe relationship to begin to address that chronic sense of loneliness that so many people carry today. And here's the truth. We're more connected than ever. I know we hear this all the time, right? We're more connected than ever and more disconnected than ever. But it's so true. We have all of these ways of connecting, but loneliness is increasing all of the time. Why? Because, once again, it's about the connection that I feel like I need versus the connection that I get. I want somebody to know me. I want to be seen in relationship. And in order for me to be seen in relationship, I need to feel safe in that relationship. And the truth is, most people don't know anymore how to make their partners, their friends, the people that they love feel safe in those relationships. So whether we like it or not, we're social mammals, okay? We need connection. We're wired for co-regulation. That's how we're built. We learn so much about love and our lovability in relationships. Once again, whether or not we like it. And I'm a big guy on self-love. You can listen to a lot of the stuff that I've put out and read my book. I'm very much in the space of self-love, self-compassion, self-acceptance, and that I can learn to love myself even if I haven't had that as a part of my story, my origin story growing up, which was my case. But the truth is, even self-love is not going to fully deal with the fact that we are these social mammals who need connection, that we release oxytocin when we're in connection, and all of these things that happen that help us address the sense of loneliness. And there's a big study that I talk a lot about at Harvard. It's the longest study about human well-being, and it says the most important thing that creates well-being, that creates happiness, that deals with loneliness is human connection. And once again, it only takes one relationship. We only need one relationship that we feel connected to that's safe to help us address the feelings of loneliness. So, what can we do? What's that one proven thing that anybody can do to start addressing loneliness? Start building one emotionally safe, meaningful connection. That's it. just one. And this isn't about becoming an extrovert or getting more likes on Instagram or whatever, or fixing all of your relationships. It's not about that. This is simply about finding or creating one relationship where you can be real, your authentic self, where you don't have to pretend, where you can feel seen, you can feel heard, and you can feel accepted. And when that happens, not only does it start to address the ache that we have, because it starts to release all those positive chemicals, it starts to address all of the stories that we have, because now we're feeling seen, and as a result of that, our bodies start to respond to that, the chemicals start to respond to that, the brain starts to fire and wire all around this. And another thing that happens is it starts to reverse those biological effects of loneliness, the impact that it's having that's equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day or causing us to feel anxious, agitated, depressed. All of those things can begin to get reversed when we make that connection with just one person. That's it, guys, just one person. So how do you do this? How do you start to build that connection? There's 3 really simple things that you can do. And the first one is identify one person, someone you trust, maybe a friend, a sibling, a former mentor, or somebody you haven't spoken to in a while. Don't overthink it too much. Just choose one person that you think you could make a connection with, that you could start developing a safe, life-giving relationship with. The second step, reach out. Send a message and keep it simple and keep it honest. Try something like, hey, I've been realizing lately I miss real connection. I mean, everybody gets that, right? Today we're missing this sense of real connection. You don't need a script. You don't need to overthink it. Just be honest about it. What you're really trying to do here is to make some real authentic connection. And if a person doesn't understand that, guess what? They're not the person at this moment in this time to be able to make that connection with and move on to another person. And what we're going to have to do is overcome that fear of rejection. Like, what if they don't want to get together? That's okay. It says more about where they're at right now than it does about you. You're looking for a real connection in this time, something to build on. And if a person doesn't want to do that, honor that, respect that, that's where they're at, and then do the work to find the next person. Listen, you're worth finding somebody to connect with, to build this relationship with, so that you can start to deal with that sense of loneliness. Don't allow yourself to keep carrying this around. Take the risk. One of the things that heals loneliness is taking the risk to put ourselves out there to start making connection, which then leads me to the third step of building these connections. Be real when you talk. Take an emotional risk. Don't just keep it all surface level. And I'm not saying you have to have this full-blown moment where you're just like putting everything on the table and we like scare people off, right? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying having maybe one honest line during the conversation at some point. You can say something like, hey, honestly, I've been feeling kind of disconnected lately. Or I've been trying to be more real with the people that I care about, make some deeper connections at this season of my life. And what that's going to do is a couple of things. One, it's going to signal to them that you're wanting some connection, okay? And you're doing it in a way that is safe, that's not overbearing, over the top, but just kind of putting it out there. But what it's also doing, it's allowing that little tiny moment of vulnerability, that little glimpse of it, to start creating the safety that you're craving, right? You put it out there, being met with some, yeah, me too, or some empathy, some understanding, and that connection starts to build and you start to feel seen, and that can start to address that loneliness. Now, if you'd like some help on your journey of developing a healthier relationship with yourself and feeling like you can be more transparent and be more vulnerable in relationships, I want to encourage you to check out my one-on-one coaching program called Personal Mastery. And I want to let you know you don't have to go on this journey alone. And so I want to encourage you to set up a free strategy call and we can connect and see if working together is the right fit. You'll find a link in the description section of this video to set up that call. I'm looking forward to hearing more about the goals that you have, the things that you want to accomplish, and most importantly, I'm looking forward to learning more about you. And while you're at it, take a moment and hit that thumbs up button, because that's going to do a couple of things. Number one, it's going to let me know to create more content like this. And number two, it's going to help this video get in front of people who are struggling with feelings of loneliness and understand the action that they can take to start healing in that space. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, but what if I don't have anybody that I feel safe with right now? And that's absolutely real, right? There are seasons in our life where we just don't have somebody and it feels very lonely and very isolating. It can be really painful. Back to that physical pain, right? It can be that real for us because it is that real. But it's not the end of the story. We don't have to settle there. And what we also don't have to do is just go out and have random relationships. Random relationships where there's no connection actually will increase your sense of loneliness and isolation because it's hitting and releasing different chemicals in our brain than true, authentic relationship, true connection. Remember the distance between the connection that I want to feel and the connection that I'm experiencing. And so when we have shallow relationships or shallow connections that aren't meaningful, or we're having hookups or whatever that story is, that is not going to meet the need that we have, okay, for connection. It's actually going to worsen the problem because we're going through this up and down cycle, and then the crash is much more severe and the realization of loneliness is much more severe. So please, if you're experiencing a lot of loneliness, don't try to just simply medicate it. Start trying to address it through developing connection. Now, if you don't have those connections, the first thing that you can do to start creating those connections are to join spaces that are built for emotional honesty. Things like therapy groups, support groups for men or women, coaching communities. I mean, all of these things that are built for authentic connection. Take the risk. It might take a little bit more work if you don't have that already, but once again, you're worthy of this work. So in the meantime, while you're working towards creating those safe connections, you can start creating a safe internal connection with yourself. And as a result, you're going to be a lot more likely to be open because connection that we want to feel does require us to let down some of those walls, to feel safe, to start being vulnerable, real, authentic. And that's a risk. And so we have to do some work within ourselves to allow ourselves to come to that place. We can do things like journaling honestly, like what are some of your fears and what have you been avoiding, etc. All of that can help. And you're going to start finding in very micro ways in the beginning, authentic connection. And you're going to start closing the gap between the connection that you want and the connection that you feel. So let me just remind you of a few things real quick. Being lonely doesn't mean you're broken, that there's something wrong with you. It means you're human. It means your nervous system is asking for something that's real. It's asking for what it's wired to have. And then the reality of a culture and a world that has gotten shallower and shallower and less connection, no wonder it's been so hard for you to find that connection that you want. So don't be so hard on yourself, okay? And you not being hard on yourself and practicing self-compassion towards yourself is actually going to help you make even deeper connections because you're going to be less afraid to show your authentic self when you feel better about yourself. And also remember this key point, because remember, this is about the thing that anybody can do to start addressing loneliness. This doesn't take 50 new friends. You don't have to be the most popular person on the planet. You don't have to jump through all those hoops or do all that stuff. It's just finding one connection, one moment of realness, and starting to build on that. Anybody can do that. And you might have a story as to why you can't. Can I encourage you? I've worked with a lot of people. Haven't found anybody yet who can't start to move towards building connection, taking the risk, and finding at least one other person on this planet to start to build something that feels like a connection and it starts to address that sense of loneliness that you've been carrying for so long. Now, one of the things that is a big challenge for many people in learning to be authentic in relationships and building those authentic connections, because they're struggling with feelings of shame or that feeling that there's something wrong with them. And if that's you, I want to encourage you to check out this video right here, because I think it can really help you on your journey of addressing shame, learning how to be your authentic self, and truly understanding that there's nothing wrong with you, and to start healing that message of shame. And I'll see you in the next video.